dear friend of mine, Madhu, she was asking for one question. Okay, so she was asking if, okay, how to, I mean, can we come out with a simple logic to, okay, to generate a random alphabet, I mean, random alphabet value, I mean, not alphanumeric, but alphabet, some 5-digit alphabet or 10-digit alphabet or some random, let's say 5-digit alphabet, okay, or alphabet or 5-digit word, random 5-digit word, which contains random alphabets, okay, digit alphabet word, okay. So how do we do that? What kind of logic we can build to create it? There are so many ways that we can do. Even when you search online, a lot of people came out with a lot of logics, but mostly they are on with C. The basis is C. By using arrays, they have came out with the logic. But what we can do is by using the power of LoadRunner, purely by using the LR functions, we can generate this. I'm going to show you how to do that. The main function I'm going to use for this is LR param sprintf. Okay, so this is the function that I'm going to use to generate a 5-digit random 5-digit alphabet word. Okay, so what is this function used for? I'm not going to discuss too much about the function, but here in this case what we can do is, if there are two alphabets, okay, and to combine them, okay, and make them as a word, we can use this LR param sprintf. Okay, so I'm going to show that how exactly I'm going to do it. So just to show the power of this LR param sprintf, okay, let's say there are two alphabets. Okay, one is, okay, char star sbuff1. Okay, so let's say there is one character called K. Okay, and then there is another character char star sbuff2, and then let's say there is another character called M. Okay, I'm going to combine them and make them into one single word called KM. See how I'm doing it. LR param sprintf. Okay, LR param control space LR param sprintf. So whatever the output, this, once I combine this K and M, it needs to be stored somewhere, and then let's say I'm going to store them in an LR parameter called final word. Okay, and then I'm going to combine these two, K and M. How do I combine? Without any space. Okay, if you want to combine with a space, you can put a space. You want to combine them with a hyphen, you can put an hyphen. I just wanted to combine them as K, purely K and M. That's why I'm doing a percentile yes and percentile yes. Why percentile yes? I could do percentile D or I can do percentile F, but here percentile yes, because these are the characters. The sbuff1 and sbuff2 is characters. That's why I'm using a percentile yes. Okay, now the first one I want it to be K, so I'm going to put sbuff1 here. Okay, and the second percentile yes should refer to sbuff2, so I'm going to put sbuff2. Okay, so in case you want the first one to be M, so you're going to put sbuff2 here, and then you want the second one to be K, you put the sbuff1 here, sbuff2 here. That's how you can do it. Okay, now let me go ahead and execute this and then I'm going to show you what will be there in final mode too. Okay, let me compile this code. Make sure you see no errors detected. I just wanted to execute action 1. Go to runtime settings, go to run logic, only action 1 is there. Go ahead and execute it. Okay, so now it is executed successfully, but I wanted to see what is stored in final word. Just go to runtime data, you would see what is there in final word, K and M. You see KM. Had it been sbuff2 here and sbuff1 here, okay, it should be MK. Okay, you will be seeing the same thing here. Okay, now I'm executing. So let's go to runtime data. You see MK. Okay, so wonderful. So the LR param sprintf, in this case I'm using to combine these two things, spuff1 and spuff2. Okay, hang on guys, 1 second. Dominus watch. Okay, so that's beautiful. Now how I'm going to use this LR param sprintf to generate a random 5-digit alphabet? Let's see. First what I will do is okay, I'll create a parameters. I've already created. Okay, so you see I've created, I'm going to create it all over again. Okay, okay, let me delete this one. Okay, I'm going to create a LR parameter which is a random letter. Okay, so usually it's a good naming standard to start a parameter with a small p, and then whatever makes sense for that you put that name over here. It's a random letter, so random letter I'm creating. Okay, okay, so I'm put A, B, C, D, all the letters, okay, which you want the part, which you want it to be a part of that random word. All the letters should be there. So from A, B, C, D all the way till Z I have put it. Okay, okay, so now I have all the letters from A to Z which is stored in an LR parameter called p random letter, and I don't want this to be picked sequentially, I want it to be picked randomly. Okay, I want it to be picked randomly. Wonderful. Now how I'm going to use this LR parameter called random letter, watch carefully here. So I'm going to comment this one out, they are not required now. So okay, so the random letter now. Okay, what will happen now, I'm going to call this, or I'm going to use this random letter. My LoadRunner will go to this LR parameters, will pick one letter from here, and how it will pick randomly. So what it will do, it will randomly pick one letter from A to Z randomly, if I am calling this LR parameter called p random letter. Wonderful. Now I want to convert this LR random letter into a string. How can I do it? It's very simple. LR eval string. LR eval string. Wonderful. Okay. Okay, and will this work guys? Will this work? No. LR p random letter is an LR parameter, and whenever we are passing an LR parameter as an input to any function, it has to be in the flower braces. Now what it will do, it will randomly pick one letter from that list A to Z and then convert to a string, and where it will store, I want it to be stored in a string called sbuff. Okay, is sbuff declared? Okay, or let's say sbuff1, is it declared? No, let me go ahead and declare it. Okay, so let me go ahead and declare it. How? Char star sbuff1. Wonderful. Okay, now what you have done, you have declared a string sbuff1. You have randomly picking one letter from A to Z and then converting to a string and store it in a string called sbuff, or storing it in a variable called sbuff1. Storing it into a variable called sbuff1. Okay. Wonderful. Now what we will do, you want to generate a 5-digit random alphabet instead of 5 digits. For now let's stick to 2 digits, and later on we will change the code to 5 digit. Okay, now you have randomly picked one digit or one alphabet. Okay, you randomly picked one alphabet, but how many alphabets you want in a word? 2. So let's randomly pick one more alphabet. Okay, sbuff2. Okay, and then again you are randomly picking one letter. Okay, and then this time around you are storing it in a variable called sbuff2. So you are randomly picking one letter from A to Z, storing it into a variable called sbuff1, and again you are randomly picking one letter and storing it into a variable called sbuff2. Wonderful. Okay, so sbuff2 needs to be declared as well. Yes, why not? So let's go ahead and declare it sbuff2 as well. Super. Okay, now sbuff2, sbuff1, you have to store it into one single variable so that it will create a word. So again you use the same thing, lr param sprintf sbuff2 sbuff1 or sbuff1 sbuff2, I don't care, whoever it is. Okay, so randomly you're picking A to Z and storing it in sbuff1, randomly picking A to Z, storing it in sbuff2, and then you're merging those or combining those and then storing it in final word. Wonderful. So you have created a script to generate a random alphabet, a word with random alphabets with with 2 digits. Okay, so let's see if this works or not. Okay, I see some issue here. Okay, as we execute it, okay, we will go ahead and figure out that issue and fix that issue. Okay, let me do a step-by-step execution so that we'll clearly fix that issue. Okay, what is it says? Found. Okay, we are missing a semicolon here. Okay, so wonderful. So let me go ahead and execute it. Okay, now let's see what is there in sbuff1. Okay, where can I see it from here? If I go to random runtime data, will I be able to see it? Let's see. Let me execute this step number 11. See, can I see sbuff1 somewhere? No, it's not available in runtime data. But how can I see what's there in sbuff1? Right click on it, add to watch. Now you will be able to see what's there in sbuff1. Okay, yeah, you see what is there in sbuff1? P. Okay, so randomly it has picked one letter from A to Z, this time around P, and stored it in a variable called sbuff1. Wonderful. Now let's see what will be stored in sbuff2. What we are expecting, again it will randomly pick one letter from A to Z. It may not be, or it need not have to be P. It should be some other letter and it should be stored in sbuff2. But let's see what will be stored. Okay. Oh, we need to add this to the watch, right? Yeah. What will be picked for sbuff2 as well? P. Why? Whatever is picked for sbuff1, it is there in sbuff2. Did it happen accidentally? Let's see. Let's run it for one more time and see if it happened accidentally. Okay. And one more thing. This time around executing. So sbuff1 should be P or should be something else. Okay. Should be P or should be something else. Can somebody tell me? Okay. This time around sbuff1 should be P or something else. It could be P, but it could be something else as well. Okay. But this time around it is I. Wonderful. But sbuff2, let's see, it is I or something else. It is I. So whatever is there in sbuff1, the same letter is getting generated and storing in sbuff2. There is a small issue. I'll tell you what is the issue. If you go to parameters and what you have done, you are asking to, whenever you call this LR parameter, you are asking to randomly select one letter from A to Z. That is good. But for each iteration means one iteration you are executing from here to here. What is this? From line number 3 to 16, it is considered as one iteration. So in that iteration, you call this random letter any number of times. The very first time whatever it has picked, let's say it has picked G and you are calling it 2 times. Here you are calling this 2 times, 1 and twice. First time whatever it is picked, the same value will be picked for the second time as well, because you said each iteration. For one iteration, it will pick one value and the same value will be applicable for the whole iteration. Okay, so the very first time whatever it is picked, okay, second time also it will not go and pick again randomly, but whatever it has picked the very first time, the same value it will stick to for the second time. Third time you are calling it, so whatever it is picked the very first time, it will stick to the same letter or the same value for the third time as well. Why? Because you said each iteration. Now you're going to go say each occurrence. Okay, each occurrence means every time that you call, it will pick a random. Since you said random here, it will pick a random value from A to Z. Okay, from A to Z, each occurrence means the first time it will go pick one random value from this list, and second time it's a second occurrence, so it will go pick some other value from this list. Okay, so let's see if our assumption is right or wrong. Okay, so the very first time, for the first one, sbuff1, it has picked j. Now you are calling again this LR parameter called p random. This is the second occurrence. Again second occurrence, it is supposed to go pick some other value. This time around it has picked j. Wonderful. Now what it will do, it will combine these two and put it into an LR parameter called final word. Okay, so final word, but I am not able to see the final word. Oh Kumar, go ahead and right click and add to watch. No, this will not work. It says incorrect expression. Why? Because final word is an LR parameter. Okay, LR parent string, what it will do, it will pick the values from the two C variables called strings and put it into an LR parameter called final word. If there is an LR parameter where I can watch the value of this runtime data, you see, final word is J and K. Final word is J and K. Why J and K? Because the very first time it has picked J, the very first time it is picked K, second time K, so we have combined both of them, J and K. So Kumar, wonderful. So what we will do, Kumar, now we want a 5 digit, okay, we want 5 digit, so we will do this for 5 times. Wonderful, superb. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's call it 3, 4, 5. Okay, now you have to declare all of them as well. You can put a comma if you want. Okay, star sbuff 3, okay, comma, star sbuff 4, comma, star sbuff 5. Okay, so let's compile it. No errors. And now you're gonna add all of them, right? So this is 5 and this is 4. Okay, so, and you're not done here. You want to put the SS, star, percentile yes, percentile yes. Wonderful. Let's see if this logic will work. Okay, let me go ahead and run it. Okay, let me go to runtime data. Okay, now you see DKQDG. So a 5-digit random letter is generated. Random word with random letters. A 5-digit word with random letters is generated. Kumar, wonderful Kumar, it is so good. Now I want to generate a word which has 1000 random letters. So what I will do, I'll create 1000 variables and then add sbuff 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way till 1000. Okay, is it feasible, guys? I don't think that's a right logic. Okay, 5 somehow you have added these variables and did it. 10 again you will do it. If it's 100 or 1000, you know, you cannot do it. What we will do, we'll use a simple for loop, guys. Okay, simple for loop. Okay, now F2, if it is, I mean for 5 we can do it, but I'm just asking if somebody asks you to generate with 100 letters. Okay, you cannot keep generating 100 of it. Okay, so simple for loop. Okay, so for loop, I is equal to 1, 2, because I want to generate a word with 100 letters. Okay, and I is a variable, I have to declare I, yes, int I. Okay, now what it will do, all this it will add. Okay, the loop, it will loop for 100 times. Okay, so what we have to do, what I'll do is final word, I'll add it here. Okay, so let's combine. Okay, sbuff 1. Okay, let's generate this for I is equal to 0, I is less than 100, I plus plus, which means that you are looping it for 100 times. What you're looping, okay, so instead of calling this sbuff 1, I'll just add this one directly here instead of calling sbuff. Okay, super. Okay, so what is this will do, 100 times it will generate. First time it will generate the random number, add it to the final word. Second time it will generate the random number and again add it to the final word. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So you are expecting that 100 times it will execute. Okay, 100 times it will execute and keep adding that value to the final word. Let's see if that will happen. I don't think so. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this. This is I int I. Okay, let's watch what's happening with the final word. Okay, the very first time A is generated, added to the final word. Now the second time again it is looping through. Okay, so it has generated F and it has replaced A with F. It has not appended A to F, it has replaced A to F. So to append it, what we have to do, final word is there, you have to add whatever is there to the final word, the new one. Okay, so you will say that whatever is there in the final word, okay, you have to append that to the new one. Okay, so whatever is there in the final word, okay, so whatever is there in the final word, what is there, sorry, F is there, F is there. Now you are randomly generating one more number and adding it to the final word. Okay, so let's say now F is there, F is already there in the final word. Okay, so you now randomly you are generating another letter, let's say A. Now F and A you are appending and storing it again in the final word. Wonderful. And then the third iteration you will have FA, and then you are, let's say random number, it has generated K, FAK you are appending and then adding it to the final word. This repeats for 100 times. Wonderful, Kumar, super. Will this work? I don't think so. Okay, because the very first iteration there is nothing there in the final word. Okay, it will start working after the second iteration, but for the very first time there is nothing there in the final word and it will start showing the issues. I'm going to show that to you. Okay, so let's start watching what is there. Okay, now at this point of time in the execution, there is nothing there in an LR parameter called final word. It will generate a random letter, okay, maybe S or K or something, but since it is nothing there in the final word, it doesn't know what to do. So let's see what it will store. You see, final word, so it is just saying that it's an LR parameter and it's not going to add anything. So it got confused, okay, because there is nothing there in the final word. So let's add something to the final word. Okay, so let's add something to the final word. Okay, so simply what you do, again you say LR param sprintf before the F loop. Okay, so you generate some random letter. Okay, so I hope everybody is understanding. Okay, I'm trying my level best to explain the logic. Okay, and actually going, it's kind of spoon feeding. Okay, I'm trying to do, but hopefully most of you would understand. Okay, fingers crossed. So what you are doing, you are randomly generating one letter and adding it to the final word. Okay, or I will say random word instead of saying final word, it says random word. Okay, that will say that, and this is a parameter, right? P random word. Okay, wonderful, guys. Okay, now first what you are doing, you are generating some random letter and then adding it to the final word. Before entering the for loop, random word has one letter something. Now after entering the for loop, what will happen? That letter will be appended to another random letter. So let me logically explain what I am doing. When I go to run through one step-by-step execution, you will understand. Now what will happen? A random letter will be generated and then will be stored in an LR parameter called prandom word. Okay, you see, as soon as I executed it, whatever is the prandom letter, okay, that E is stored in LR parameter called prandom word. Now it is entering the for loop. The very first iteration, what it will do, this you already have the value E. Now it will generate another random letter and let's see what it will generate. Okay, let me execute that. Okay, why? Hang on 1 second, guys. Oh, this percentile yes is missing. Hang on 1 second, guys. It has to be one more percentile yes. Percentile yes. Now I think it should work. Yeah, that was a mistake, guys. Okay, let me see. Oh, this is, oh, my bad. Okay, here the variable is prandom. Here you are saying final word, so you have to copy this one here. Okay, now you have generated a random, some random letter, stored it in p word. Okay, and then you are appending these two. Okay, superb. Let's go ahead. Let me explain this. Okay, so a random letter G is generated and random letter G is generated. It is stored in an LR parameter called P random word. Now it is entering the P for loop. Okay, so it will generate another random letter. Okay, and that random letter will be appended to the P word G. Okay, you see, so earlier in the P random word you had G. Now it has generated a random letter called Y. It has appended both of them G and Y and stored it in P random word, which is GY. First iteration is done. Okay, you can also watch I, what is happening with I as well. Okay, I is 0. Now I is incremented by 1. Okay, now until it is less than 100, it will execute this for loop. This is 1 now, so it will go and execute this statement. Okay, so it will go ahead and execute this statement. Now what will happen? It will again generate one more random letter, and that will be added to GY. Okay, because P random has GY, it will generate one more random letter. That letter will be added to this GY, and that will be stored again in the P word. Okay, so you see GYH. Like this, it will generate 100-digit random letters. Okay, let me go ahead and execute it. Now you go back and see what will be there, 100-digit random letter. Okay, a word which contains 100-digit random letter. Super. Later on, you can convert this to a string if you want. Okay, by using LR eval string. Okay, you can create a variable called sbuff or something like that. Okay, so you say sbuff. Okay, and then convert it to a string if you want by just saying sbuff. Okay, is equal to LR eval string. Okay, this P word. Superb. Okay, so now you have converted to a string as well if you wish so. Okay, so let's see what will be stored in sbuff. I have executed it. Okay, now let me add this sbuff to watch. Now see what will happen. It is supposed to store it. Okay, but if you print it out, it will sometimes, you know, it's a 100-digit letter and it might not have the space, so you might have to give that space. Okay, when you generate it, maybe that could be the problem. Okay, let me try this. No, you cannot create an array because of the this one. Okay, let's try this one. No, so we'll look into that. This should work, brother. You know, this should work, guys. Star, yes, it should work. Okay, if not, I'll look into this logic later and then create it. If you output it, it will certainly store it in an sbuff, and then, you know, it will work. Okay. Okay, so finally, you know, you have generated a random you know, number which is of 100 digits or 1000 or whatever you want. Okay, doing this. But Kumar, you know, every time I run it, it need not have to be 100. Sometimes it has to be 60. Sometimes it has to be 50 letters. Sometimes it has to be 4 letters. Sometimes it has to be 100 letters. Which means that you have to, this number has to be random. Okay, every time you have to execute, you have to generate a letter which is of random length. Okay, this is very simple. What I will do is I'll create another variable key random number. Okay, p rand number, and then just say random number here. Generate a random number between 5 and let's say 50. Okay, rename, copy. Okay, now here you can call that number. Okay, now this is an LR parameter, so it will not work. You have to convert this to an integer. How to do that? ATOI. Okay, and then LR eval string. Okay, and then this is an input, so it has to be in braces. Okay, this will work. Okay, and then one more closing braces. Yeah, this will work. Okay, so let me, yeah, now you can go ahead and run it. Okay, so every time you run it, it will generate a random length. Okay, a random string with a random length. Okay, this time around the random number is 14, so it has generated a 14 digit word which has the random letters. So again you execute it. Okay, again you execute it. So this time around it has generated, you have generated, okay, a 9-digit word with some random letters. Okay, so this is how you can do it, guys. If you have any questions, you can get back to me. Okay, I'll try to answer the best I could. And one more thing, guys, you were not able to see the value in the watch, right, this SBUF, because as the limitations of this watch, that could be problem. So I've outputted that saying LR output message SBUF, and I'm able to see that value. So you have converted the LR parameter to a string as well and stored it in a string. So I've added this piece of code. Okay, so SBUF, LR output SBUF, and you see line number 26, the random generated number is converted to a string, and that is showing up here. So by using this one, you have converted to a string as well into SBUF, and you are using it. So this is how we can do it, brother. It is, guys, this is very, very simple. I hope this this thing will help you.